Welcome to the Hall For Cornwall this evening for the launch of the book of Steve Massey, Where's My Towel? It's going to be a great evening. We're expecting to meet up with lots of, legends of Cornish football, and we're really looking forward to it.
In terms of, there's a lot of experienced people in here, a lot of people that are older than I am, and but yeah, what a guy. This night is obviously a celebration for him, and he's given a great deal to Cornish football, and football in the pro ranks as well. But I think pretty much everyone in this room is here because of his selflessness and what he's delivered to Cornish football over the past few decades.
I always remember when he came in that day. And Mass came in we were all in jeans and shirts, and Mass turned up. This bloody suit must have cost about 500, 600 quid, I expect, first time coming in. And that carried on from day one. But I always remember under my breath when he said, "Where's my towel?" I said, "Probably in the bag, same as my bloody towel."
You kind of forget that he played as well, so he's obviously told a few stories along the way, but yeah, really looking forward to reading about him as a player as well, which will obviously be a great insight.
I think he's dead nervous, which I've never seen him so nervous, which is quite enjoyable to see. But yeah, looking forward to it. Good to see so many faces as well. So. And
interesting that he's launching a book. You're going to read it tonight when you get home?
If I need a good night's sleep, I'll have a read for half an hour and see where it takes me. But I know a lot of Massey's stories, and like you say, they're intriguing. You speak to Mass and on the phone, turns out a 5-minute conversation turns into 2 or 3 hours. But it's good. Like you say, I'm just really pleased. Put pen to paper and be interesting to read it.
I shall be reading it. Second book I've read, it will be.
We hated each other on the pitch, but also got on really well off the pitch. And like I say, it's well deserved. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't know what he did at a level, but fair comment. If he's done what he's done and then come down to Cornwall and done what he's done, fantastic. And he's brought a lot to Cornish football.
Get one of his books, then you'll know all about him.
Yeah, hopefully he's written nothing about me in there.
Thanks. Let's see, you bought a book.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I think it's probably the 5th book I've read since I left school, I'd say, and most of them are autobiographies, so yeah, of course, I couldn't have missed it, Steve, legend.
Colders up.
Again, just repeat myself for our kid's book launch. A bit ironic, really, because as a kid, he couldn't spell to save his life. He still can't spell, yeah. And when we were doing our homework at home, we used to sit at the dining room table and we used to say to my dad, God bless him, how do you spell that? And my dad used to say, have a look in the dictionary. We've realised since he couldn't bleed and spell himself.
I've always thought that football is a game of snakes and ladders, a bit like life. And even though, obviously, as a footballer, you're to a certain extent in charge of your destiny, you're also relying on that dice landing on a 1, a 6, whatever you want. And Steve, in 1982, had a lot of bad luck. He'd been released by Bournemouth when all the fans and the media expected him to be kept on. His new manager at Peterborough had decided after a few months he wanted you out. He even said to Steve, if you stay, you're training with the youth team, you're training on your own, you're playing in the reserves. So, transfer deadline day, February 1982, Steve joins the Cobblers. There's not a huge amount of expectation from us as fans. We don't know much about him, there's no Wikipedia to look him up on. All we know is he played for Peterborough, who we hate, and he only scored 3 goals in 20 games. But the one thing every footballer needs in life is someone who loves them. And Steve arrived at Northampton. The manager said to him, you're going to be playing down the middle, you're my main man, you're our saviour. There was no great tactical nous, was there, from Clive Walker. It was just a bit of love and giving him a boost of confidence. Fast forward 9 months, Steve wasn't just a top goal scorer at Northampton, he was a top scorer in the whole country in the division. Barry Davis was eulogising about you on Match of the Day in an FA Cup tie. And 25 goals later, we all knew he was far too good to be playing in the 4th division. Now that was, until May this year, the last time I saw Steve. So in my mind, who's still beach blonde hair, not sure really what colour hair it is now. He was fast, skillful, he'd added goals, and also he knew the dark arts. If you watched Steve playing football when he was 24, if you watched him rather than the ball, the minute the ball had gone, he had his foot in on the defender, just checking out, see if I'm going to get the better of this guy today. True?
Yeah.
I remember Steve Massey, Dave, from those days. He was top scorer at every club he played for in the Football League, except Hull. And he told me why. Because Colin Appleton played him out of position as a winger.
He always looked $1 million. And of course, me as a young player, if ever you saw somebody with a beautiful hairdo, you wanted to kick them. And in the early 80s, there was a lot of mullets and perms, and Steve was one of them that attracted the aggressive side of your football. So I remember playing against him where I thought I'm going to kick him because he's a poser. And honestly, he was such a good footballer up front for Hull that, I mean, we lost 3-1 up there, and he scored one and made probably two, I think, because he just tore us to pieces. And I was trying to kick him, but I couldn't get close to him.
Final note, it was weird for me. 40 years ago, I idolised a guy on the football field, and 40 years on, we came together to write the book.
And it was always a dream of mine to be able to write a book, if somebody we thought would be interested enough in writing it. And I was a little bit apprehensive at first when Rodney kept messaged me a couple of times, and I thought he's one of these fans. He was like, I thought, is he one of these Alan Partridge people? Perhaps he's got a load of photographs on his wall with me. But you look at his CV, and believe me, look at his CV, blimey. And he comes from good stock as well. His father was very, very famous and screenwriter. So it's been an absolute pleasure working with him, and he's been the driving force, absolutely. And again, he's just touched on it about my procrastinating. The lads will know there's nobody worse than me. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that tomorrow. I always say, well, if you are ahead of the game, then there's nothing to look forward to tomorrow, is there? If you procrastinator. So that was and Rodney kept me on the straight and narrow, to be perfectly honest. This needs to be doing. This needs to be doing. This needs to be doing. So. I don't mind admitting as well that I'm stood here now and I'm talking, and give me the 16 lads in the dressing room, even 2-0 down at half time, and I'm on it. It was the word, I'm on it. This tonight is terrifying, honestly, because I think it's just so many guys that I've seriously loved, signed, played for, left out of the teams, dragged them off, and it's brilliant to see them all here tonight.
Yeah, we beat them. I think it's the first time Truro beat Falmouth at Bickland Park for 23 years, mate. And it was the first time they played for the Aubrey Wilkes Trophy, Dix, you know, the big one. And yeah, we was 1-0 down. Mass equalised, and I had the winner. But Mass's goal that day, Dix, I mean, he was about 30 yards out, mate. Just rolled, Tommy Matthews, mate, which, Tommy's one of the best defenders ever in Cornwall. And he just rolled Tommy, mate, and he's hit this shot, honestly. It was like one of them, just a jaw dropper, and it went right in the top corner, mate. And I don't think Denty moved, mate, and he was, decent keeper as well. Denty, wasn't he? Great keeper. So, yeah, I think if I had one memory of Mass, mate, that would be just a pleasure to be on the same pitch with him, like Dix, and for all the good advice he gave me, mate, because I was just a little snotty-nosed striker, mate, little teenager, mate, and, Mass obviously just dropped out the pro game, so, he didn't have to be so nice to me, mate, but he gave me some great advice, and it was a real pleasure playing with him, and a real pro.
Cornish football needs football like Steve Massey, Dave. I think we all know it. He's a character. He lives and breathes it. It's his passion. I do miss playing under him, to be honest, I do. However, yeah, Massey's halftime team talks and his motivational speech is probably what I miss most.
I think there's a lot of people that they're lost to football once they stop playing, and Steve's not one of those. He still is enthusiastic now as he probably was when he was a trainee at Stockport, and I think he's given an awful lot back to Cornish football. And certainly for me, when working as a journalist, he gave me some good lines. We had our ups and downs as well, obviously, as you do with any kind of manager, but I've got a lot of respect for him because of what he achieved in the game, really.
And mums and dads, I myself, there's only one person that I would wish that was here tonight. I knew it was on you. And I talk about in the book, there is a page that's dedicated to him. My dad was my glue. He followed me everywhere. He couldn't drive, he didn't drive. He used to go on the train, miss a few trains, turned up the wrong ground once. And that was down to you. I know. I did tell him to go for the wrong stop. I did. But I know how much that meant to me. Every game, there was no warming up. We didn't go out and warm up in those days. You warmed up in the dressing room, and you maybe went out about 5 to 3, and you just did a bit of stretching. There's nothing, certainly warm down. That was not even heard of. It was something you did on holiday or something. Warm down, there's nothing. And so when we used to come out, I used to try and make and find where I knew where an idea, because he had his ticket, and it would always be like, yeah, that's the icing on the cake. I've seen my dad's here. And I'm just really sorry that he's not able to read it. I hope he would have been proud of the book.
I always admire fellow managers, especially the likes of Steve Massey. I admire him from a different view as well, because he gave my lad an opportunity at Helston at a young age, gave him a contract, and probably started to flourish his career. So I've got a lot to thank him for that, and so has Alf. And also following the under-18s with the Cornwall under-18s when he did the scouting work as well. So everything was meticulous, everything was precisional, everything was done really well. And to play against him is a delight, because you can have a little tete-a-tete on the sideline, but then you're best mates again.
As you know, I got a barber shop in Truro, and I had a gentleman come in the shop and said that he had relatives in Mullion, and the chap had just taken over the holiday camp, used to play professional football. So I thought, I think I'll give Morris a ring, which I did, and to Morris's credit, he went straight down to Mullion. And as he walked in, I believe Dave Wadd was walking out, who was manager of Fulham. Right. But I think Steve liked the look of Morris, and the rest is history.
There was a sense of nervous excitement for me as I arrived at Truro Road, home of Truro City, at around 6:15 that night. I'd never met my new teammates, never mind train with them. I still considered myself to be in physical good shape. I thought still sharp, and arrived at the ground with my professional mindset head on. I was actually in a smart suit, and I actually stuck out like a sore thumb, as if I was dressed for some modelling assignment. I'd actually brought my shin pads and my boots, but I looked around the dressing room, and I'm like, where's the slips? Jock straps, where's the jock straps? When I asked where they were kept, who's got them, there was a muted response from most of the players, you bring your own here, mate. So, fair enough, I would make my Truro City debut wearing my underpants. As debuts go, the writers of Roy of the Rovers comic would have been hard-pressed to come up with a more dramatic scenario. A brilliant seesaw 4-3 victory against local rivals Penzance. I thought it made an impression on the pitch, a statement of intent, and I liked the moment. When I jumped into the shower, I was already looking forward to Saturday's fixture at home to Millbrook. Emerging moments later, I quickly looked around for my towel. I could see some of the lads were drying themselves off, but there was no sign of one on my peg. Where's my towel? Don't tell me they've all gone. Cue the collective laughter and banter, and then plenty about big time Charlie. Where have you been? Playing from the pro game, blimey. And it was actually a welcome to non-league football, where you clean your own boots, you bring your own jockstrap, shampoo, and towel. Standing there listening to the good-natured teasing, I wasn't annoyed. I was actually quite embarrassed by my own naivety, bordering on arrogance. I wasn't going to be indulged any longer, and I needed to adapt. In the end, I borrowed someone else's used damp towel, I mean Webby's. And so it had been a case of a euphoria on the pitch and a reality check off it. Where's my bloody towel indeed?
So, ladies and gentlemen, we now know where the title of the book came from. Where's my bloody towel?
So, Mark Simons, you were one of those at the club when Steve joined. What did you think?
I'm always a bit sceptical when they say that players are joining and they've played this and played that. But I must admit, when Steve joined the club, we had Penzance at home, and he scored 4 goals, and he was. I got to say, he was a star player.
Unbelievable. He's not everybody's cup of tea. A bit of a Marmite character, but for me, he's a dear friend.
Yeah. And it must be, well, the best signing Truro City have ever made.
Ever. When I asked the question, who's the best striker in the county? It's him. It's got to be him. The first game played for us was evening game Penzance. We won 4-3, and Steve scored 4 goals. And we thought, what the hell have we got here? Like, you know? And the rest was history, really. And that particular season, he was equal goal scorer in the South Western League. And I got a bit of stick for that because there was an own goal scored at Millbrook. And being an honest lad, it was an own goal.
Right. But it should have gone to the striker.
At the end of the day, I should put Steve. No, I wouldn't do that. I'm not that sort of person anyway. So, yeah.
And so that was Steve as a player. What about as a manager?
As a manager, very influential, really. You can't knock his record. He brought his playing career into the dressing room. I mean, you've been in the dressing room when he's been there, haven't you? I'm trying to find him a word. He's enthusiastic, which boils over at times. And I always used to say he would motivate the players. I just speak to some of our players, and maybe here tonight, Steve Weary in particular says the best managers he's played against. Even more damn rule, players like that, the best managers that they enjoy playing with him, and he's just a motivator, as he is now. He still is. He's still got that. You've got to listen to him, yeah.
So was it the club or was it the man?
The man, definitely. If I'm totally honest, I'd never heard of Helston, really. If I'm totally honest.
So, Josh Story, tell us what you rate about Steve Massey.
Oh, where do I start? He's the nicest bloke I've ever met in football. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and you ask anyone that he's ever played for him, and he's a diamond, isn't he?
Myers already told us.
He's a legend. I love him.
He is the top of the top. Believe me now.
How many drinks have
you had?
That's a very good question. How many drinks have you had?
There's your answer.
Sure, everything.
Top bloke.
Oh, don't you say top as well.
top bloke. Nah, he's just really nice bloke. Gets on with everyone. Heart on his sleeve. Gets everyone going. Can hear him on the sidelines. Can hear him in his commentary. So just got so much passion for it. He loves it. And we love him, so.
Let's interview you, Deeks. No, come on, let's see what you got to say about that. This is Matt Byer, just interviewed Dave Deacon, because you have us all off all the time on your podcast, so I'm going to come to you now. What do you think of Steve Massey?
Top bloke. I actually, probably in this room, known Steve longer than a lot of other people, because I was at Truro City when he joined.
Okay, so if you've got a red and yellow card, can you stick the one that you want to choose in the air? Not 2. Out of order, that is a yellow card. What do you want to go, red? Yellow, go red. Okay, red, yellow, red, yellow. Here we go, Mass. Stick the card in the air. We've got one winner for £100 of Mannings. Yellow. Brilliant. Sees after. Okay, well done. Brilliant.
He could kind of obviously see something in myself that gave me that confidence, and I think he does that for most of all the players he does. He breathes confidence into people. He shares that kind of wealth of experience for himself. He makes you feel 10 foot tall before you go out on a pitch, and he certainly takes a flak if it doesn't quite right. He shelters, the crowd or the squad from it. So, great having those playing days, looking back and reflecting. Falmouth, amazing club. I've gone back down and seen Bickland recently. Fantastic going back. Truro didn't work out. for quite a few of us. Obviously the club then very rapidly grew in different kind of directions. It was nice to go back and have a second stint with Steve at Falmouth and the boys here tonight. When you walk back after not seeing him for 15, 20 years, he got good people together. He chose and selected not just talented people, but people with personalities and heart and belief behind what he wanted to do. But when he pulls you up and says, we're going to build a title-winning team, it's hard to kind of turn you back from that, because that's what he always strove for. He never came to make numbers up. So succeeding for Steve was one of the main things that certainly got your intention straight from day one.
He courted me for a few months before when he had taken back over, and it was a time when Kevin Heaney was in charge, and I think a lot of people didn't quite believe what they were trying to do, and Massey sold me the dream over a few months, and he's a very enigmatic, eccentric guy, as anybody who knows him will attest to. And I had a really good relationship with him. I was only very young at the time as well, so and he always treated me with a lot of respect, and that was how our relationship first started, and ever since then we've obviously remained good friends, and he's followed my career and I've certainly followed his, and what a servant for local sort of Cornish football and in the southwest, as well as a great playing career as well.
He was one of the best managers that I ever played for. Yeah, as a man manager I thought he was superb, and as a bloke he's always been there for me, so I can't say nothing but good things about him.
He's been involved for football for about 80 years, and he's still as enthusiastic as the day I met him in 1991.
Just everything was professional, and you did feel like professional players. It was really good, really good.
And he brought that aura to the team that players love to sort of be part of.
I think with Steve, there's a real authenticity with him. There's a real genuine side to him, which people don't really get to see in Cornish football. People like that villain, but from a player's perspective, personally for me, he did me wonders. Confidence, belief, supporting. Those phone calls on a Friday evening before you turn up on a Saturday. He was almost like a friend as well as a manager.
I can't speak highly enough of him. He made me captain of Falmouth, which I had grown up watching Falmouth as a boy. So to be made captain was huge for me. So I'll never forget that.
What was George Best like?
He was. Do I give it away then? He was. I'm only 18 at the time. I'm 18, and it just struck me without a doubt. He came into the dressing room, and he was a shy guy, and he had big burly minders. He had 4 of them, completely and utterly undermined the dressing room and the manager, who was a guy called Roy Chapman at the time, and they just bossed George clearly, and even at that age then, they just bossed George about. And he would get yourself changed as soon as the game's finished. Get yourself, we've got to go and show our face, and so and so. There's a nightclub, and he had about 3 or 4 nightclubs where he had to go and show his face. And clearly, he was just told where to go.
Well, I was going to ask him a question this evening. Had he forgiven me for sacking him?
That was my next question.
No, you can see Steve's got a lot of passion for the game, hasn't he? And he does Cornwall football brilliantly, and I think I welcome his book. I should be buying one and reading it. I hope you are buying one, David.
I'm hoping I'm getting one free for doing this. I haven't had a drink or any food yet.
Seriously, he's done wonders for Cornish football, and what he's doing for Helston, I think is. I really admire what he's done there. And Truro City. And don't forget, when Truro City had all its problems, he stepped in and he sort of guided my hand along with it until I got the ropes. Then I realised I made a mistake.
Yeah.
But no, fantastic.
He didn't tell you the whole truth.
Steve's brought a lot to the club, which I think, as chairman, I'm extremely grateful for. Certainly moved the club forward. It's been a pivotal part to that, and for which we're very grateful.
And his enthusiasm must rub off on everyone, I should imagine.
Absolutely. I don't know anyone that's enthusiastic about football as Steve is. I would hate to think whatever happened if they said that football was no more. I don't really know what Steve would do with his life, to be honest.
When he joined Helston, I think it's probably you were one of the managers he sort of took the place of, wasn't he?
Myself and Sid, we stood down.
But he's done so much since, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think the sort of rise through the steps, as they call them now, is pretty meteoric, really. I forget what step we were called when we were sort of first team managers, but whatever we're at now, step 5 or 6, yeah, it's been good, you know, almost meteoric, but up through in the new step 5 restructure. It's been good.
And what he does for us lads and what he does for the club is unbelievable, and we are really grateful to have him.
Question 1. No shouting out. Write the answer down. Can a goal be scored direct from a kick-off? A defender takes a direct free kick from just outside their own penalty area, passes it back to the goalkeeper who's not watching, and the ball goes straight in. What are you going to do?
Rowers had scored, I think they equalised, and then I came on with, I think it was 10 minutes to go, and I think it was the first 3 touches, scored 3 goals, I think it was. So I think it was something like a 3-minute hat-trick or something. So and then got the match ball, which Rowers wanted, but then we had a fantastic party that evening.
I think in my playing days he was somebody who I disliked enormously, but actually always wanted to play for deep down, and that opportunity came with Truro, and never looked back from there.
Dale,
yes.
What are you going to tell us about Steve Massey?
He's an awfully nice chap. I have no problem with Steve Massey interviewing. He was always interesting to talk to, knew exactly what he was talking about, and a great footballer, so I've been told.
He did get me banned from Truro City once, but
we're
all friends again now. Not one to keep his opinions to himself quite often. Steve rang me with umbrage to a story I'd written about Truro City youth. Steve wanted to get his point across, we provided him a platform. I then went to Truro City managers Paul Watton and to Jack Richards, chairman at the time as well, asked them for their right of reply. They said, "You're not going to run that story, are you?" And well, we did, and it was all fine. And then the next day I got a call from somebody who banned me from Truro, and actually, funnily enough, no one ever told me I was allowed back in, so I don't go to the Aldi up there now, or Lidl or whatever it is, because my face might be up on the wall.
One of the most genuine guys you'd probably come across in football. He's got a heart of gold, 100%. He'd do anything for anyone. Probably gets a bit of criticism that is probably undeserved at times, but yeah, he's got a heart of gold and would do anything for anyone. So
quite well known that we used to have a bit of a rivalry, but in fairness to Steve, when I finished with Salt Ash back in April, Steve was the first person to ring me up.
Did he laugh?
No, he was good as gold. He rang me up and said, if you want to go and watch some games and everything like that, said he's been there twice. I've been sacked. Come and watch some games and things like that. He was great. The first person to ring me up. So I think the moment he'd done that, I thought after the rivalry we had, it was a really nice touch. So, I think that was the end of the rivalry.
But someone else I'd like to say, when I was playing for Truro, Steve was manager, my father passed away. And 6 months later, just out of the blue, I got a phone call. Steve said, "How's your mum doing?" And I said, "Well, actually, she's struggling, Steve." He said, "Right." He said, "I'm booking you in to my holiday camp in Berryhead, is it? For a week on me." And I thought a lot of that, and I got my utmost respect. Yeah. And I did her a world of good.
I just wanted to finish with here that I did put a little bit in the programme. My son Elliot put the programme together, and I wanted just to remember, because it happens to us all in the end. And I don't want to go in a bit of doom and gloom from here now, but I just think it'd be really nice if we all got a glass raised, because there was particularly 3 guys that were really big, influential guys, inspirations to me. They worked alongside me. I wouldn't say assistant, like we worked together. So they're always in our thoughts. And I'd just like to also raise a glass to Maurice, Ray and Trevor. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the evening. It's been fantastic to see you all here, and a safe journey home. Thank you.